Ring the bell.
God, it's good to be back, everyone. I've been away for far too long. Well, I've missed all of you that watch these videos. I'm sure you've missed me too, because that's why you're here. There's a number of reasons why I haven't done many reviews, but let's not get into that because we've got something so much better to talk about here today, and that is the absolute iconic fight between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk to unify the biggest and most historic division in all of boxing history, the heavyweight division. We finally have a unified, undisputed champion for the first time since 1999. It's been 25 years since Lennox Lewis first picked up that accolade. This is the first time it's happened in the four-belt era. And if you're a fan of boxing, you know just how hard it is. Just with the sanctioning bodies, stripping titles, and mandatories, this shit never happens. But we have been so privileged lately. We've just been treated so well as boxing fans recently. We've just had Naoya Inoue becoming undisputed in 2 different weight classes. We had Terence Crawford do it recently, just before Inoue. And now we have the new undisputed champion, and Oleksandr Usyk, doing the same feat, picking up a second undisputed title in another weight division after conquering cruiserweight. He has conquered the biggest mountain of them all, conquering heavyweight. And what a fight it was to anoint Usyk as the new king of heavyweight, possibly the new king of boxing. I mean, we've got lots of great pound-for-pound talents, but what Usyk has just done in order to get where he is nothing short of absolutely incredible. You think about his dominance of cruiserweight, he moved up. I mean, 6'3", it's not a short dude by any means, but heavyweight's had some absolute giants recently. So he moves up to heavyweight, and you look at his first couple of fights. His first fight, I believe, was Chaz Weatherspoon. He should have dominated him. He sort of did dominate, but he also looked a bit uncomfortable at times. Follows it up with a fight against Derek Chisora, who Chisora had him all sorts of uncomfortable there in the ring. You thought, is Usyk going to be able to adjust to the big boys of the sport, the ones that are just going to rough you up? And he did. He then went on to take down, at the time, the king of heavyweight boxing, and Anthony Joshua. Beats him back-to-back fights to pick up 3 of the belts. If you were watching those fights, you thought to yourself, yeah, but Joshua was trying to outbox the boxer. Now, Joshua is obviously an amazing boxer. He's a gold medal winner himself in the Olympics. But looking back at his previous fights, it was the fights like against Chisora where you saw people being uncomfortable because they were sort of just not boxing. They were brawling. And for those 2 fights against Joshua tried to box a lot of the time. So he picks up these, not discrediting the wins against Joshua, amazing wins. But that's not how you thought Fury was going to box him. And Usyk was coming off a somewhat controversial win against Daniel Dubois as well, if you remember back then, with that body shot that was ruled low. It was a low punch, but it was on that line. The ref could have called that a legal body blow. You know, it is that tight. And, you know, punches are happening pretty quickly. The angle you're looking at, if that ref had called a legal punch, butterfly effect, who knows what would have happened in that fight? We could have seen Daniel Dubois being the unified champion of the world. That had Usyk down. It did. I mean, and he took the 5 minutes that he was able to take for a low blow. But if it was legal, he probably would have gotten up. But he would have had 10 seconds to do so. So, look, who knows what happens from that? But that's not what we're talking about. I bring it up because you go to what this fight was building up to be. Fury is an amazing boxer, but he's not afraid to be a brawler. He's not afraid to push the limits of what's maybe legal in a match. He will lean on you. He will make you uncomfortable. He will grapple you. We saw that in how he took on Deontay Wilder in the 2nd and 3rd fight of their trilogy. Just was ready to make you as uncomfortable as absolutely possible. So going into this fight, I thought Fury had all the advantages needed to pick up the victory. He knew Usyk doesn't like it to the body, and Fury can get you to the body, which he did. He did a lot in this fight, and I knew Fury was not afraid to brawl, and I knew that could make Usyk very uncomfortable. We get to the actual fight now. The first 2 rounds, and as most fights are, they were very much a feeling out sort of round. You had Fury clowning in there, like looking like one of those clowns at the fair where you throw the balls in their mouth and it rolls down to get numbers. Because he was in the corner going, "Oh, he wasn't taking it seriously." But it's the mind games with Usyk. Neither round had much in it, but in that first round, you had Usyk just steal it at the end there, just steals it with that cracker of a sort of a left hook right to the schnoz of Fury. So the round definitely goes to Usyk, and then round two, another tight round. But you had Fury now starting to work his jab a bit more. Okay, he was back into the corner and then sort of playing possum, and then step into the side while throwing the right hook. Okay, he starts working the body a lot more. I personally gave the second round to Fury watching it live. It's hard to score watching it just live like that in a pub full of people. From there on, from like round 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8, was just Fury dominance. Usyk may pick up a swing round here and there, but for that good middle chunk of the fight, everything that I thought was the case going into the fight started to show itself. Fury was just working the body. He was using his height. He was using his range. He was using his jab. He was making it uncomfortable when it needed to be uncomfortable. And look, I'm actually wasn't a big fan of the game plan, but it was working. But I really wanted him to be a bit more of a brawler in there. He was still trying to box the boxer. And Fury's an amazing boxer, don't get me wrong, but he was on the back foot a lot of the night. And that ends up being somewhat of his downfall once we get into the last 4 rounds of the fight, which these 4 rounds, the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, are what catapults Usyk into this other stratosphere of fighters. Possibly one of the greatest fighters in the last, well, yeah, couple decades. Definitely up there with your Inoues and your Crawfords. Those last 4 rounds, after losing so much of the middle chunk of that fight, we had Usyk adjust and finally start landing these lefts. And he's punching up 6 inches into the air as well. He's found a way to get past this jab. And then that 9th round, it happens. Fury's on the back foot and Usyk just hawks a cracker of a left and it catches Fury hard. I mean, Fury's been punched by the biggest punches, boxing scene in Deontay Wilder, obviously. Definitely one of the biggest knockout artists we've seen. And even then, Francis Ngannou, not a great boxer, but apparently, he's got a hard punch on him. We've seen that in the UFC. There's no doubt if you're someone that big and that strong, hits you clean, you go down and it's going to hurt a lot. So he's gotten up from those punches. So credit to the power that Usyk actually packs into those punches because he had Fury wobbling. And wobble he did. And I personally believed it's because he was on the back foot. That punch, as he's backing up and leaning back, was able to get full extension, full cracking power. It has Fury out on his feet. Now, this is where this fight unravels for Fury so much because it ends up costing him the fight. He ends up getting knocked down, as you probably all well know. That knockdown ends up costing him the draw, at least. It's hard to know what you should do. Should you take the knee or should you keep backing up? He kept backing up and he kept getting hit again and again and again. And he's very lucky that it didn't end up in a 9th round knockout. I think 9 out of 10 referees would have called that a KO. He was out on his feet. He wasn't defending himself. He was being knocked pillar to post. He was bouncing off the ropes, just absolutely gone. And it wasn't a standing 8 count. He was clearly, if that ropes weren't there, he probably would have tumbled over eventually. But from there on, it just felt like Usyk had adapted and figured out how to get into Fury's range. And now, normally I credit Fury a lot, especially in the first Wilder fight, for adjusting after the knockdowns. Despite what you want to say about Fury and how much of a clown he's been and how much of just some of the shit he says, I don't think anyone can argue that he fights through adversity better than most fighters. After getting knocked down by Wilder in their first round and rising like The Undertaker, he didn't try and survive the rest of that round. He actually took it to Wilder and picks up, wins the rest of that round. You look at the Otto Wallin fight, gets that nasty cut over his eye, fights through that and just keeps, that you can't see, but he was just, you could see in his face, you can actually see when Fury's angry and fighting angry and pushing through that adversity. He does the same thing against Ngannou. I mean, it looks shocking in that fight, but he does the same thing there. So I was expecting the same sort of thing there, where he's like, you've woken up the beast within Fury, and he's going to now, instead of being on the back foot, take it to Usyk, but he couldn't do it. Usyk was keeping him at bay, keeping those lefts going, and wins 9, 10, 11, and 12. I mean, the last round could be a bit of a swing round, maybe a bit of maybe 11 as well. Yeah, sort of. And it just goes to show that in the end, Usyk just kind of wanted it more. He was a more deserving winner because he took those last 4 rounds. He knew he needed them. He knew that he lost a lot of those middle rounds, knockdown or not. I mean, people have been knocked down and still come back to win fights. Definitely the deserving winner. And Fury was just too short of being great. It ends up being Usyk who's the great one. I personally had Fury winning 7 rounds, -1 point for the knockdown. I had it 6-5 Fury, but I actually think the right man wins. So the more deserving man won it in the end. You obviously had the judges' scorecards. One judge had Usyk winning 7, one judge had Fury winning 7, and the other judge had it a draw. That's how razor close this fight was. And if it wasn't for that knockdown, it would have been a Usyk Fury draw for a split decision draw. That is absolutely insane. That's how close this fight was. So all those people that are online, I mean, I've just said Fury didn't have what it takes to be great. He just faltered to that last second, but you can't criticize for what an amazing fight Fury actually put on here tonight. He's the closest anyone's ever come to beating Usyk. Okay, this fight needs to have its rematch. 100%. I don't want either of them to dick around with another fight first. I know Fury will, because that's just what Fury does. I also think Joshua needs a say in the matter of, you know, getting the titles back himself. I think Joseph Parker's definitely deserving of another title shot. You've got people like Hagrovic coming up through the ranks. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for these belts to stay with one person. They won't. I think Odin's already been stripped. So, but the rematch needs to happen, because I think there are a lot of adjustments Fury can make to pick up a win. That being said, I think Usyk is just like Lomachenko, just like all those very, very smart fighters in boxing history. He downloads the information and he cracks the code, and he might have cracked Fury's code. I mean, Fury can box a number of ways, but he's worked out how to get past this massive height difference. He's got that heart of a lion in him. We have been spoiled. It's so few times has a hype of a fight come through and delivered on that hype, and this definitely delivered. Credit to both fighters. Both of them should come away from this looking better as fighters. Fury, after all the antics he's pulled, after the absolute disgraceful showing against Ngannou, has come through to show that he is still top 3 heavyweight in the world. Still top 2, I reckon. Anthony Joshua, I don't know what to think about him recently. He's looked a lot better. He looks like he's got that killer instinct back, but we need to see him pick up a win over someone that isn't Ngannou or Varlin, which obviously is 2 of Fury's wins. But he's right there. I mean, I'd probably go him tied second with Fury now that I'm thinking about it. Usyk's definitely number 1, and just what a cracker of a fight. Absolute, just cracking fight. And yeah, that's... I've been a bit rusty, obviously. Those are really all my thoughts on it. Let me know if I've missed anything or anything I should have touched on. Send us a like, give us a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will hopefully be doing a lot more of these a lot more often now that I've got that other shit in life sorted. So, yeah, I will see you down the road.